What's going on, gamers? Here we are back with some more Outriders, and today I'm going to be bringing you my budget build guide for this pyromancer build, and it's an anomaly build. So if you're trying to get through those 13s, 14s and 15s on the expeditions, then stay tuned. This one is definitely the build for you. Welcome back, all you guys and girls. As always, 4Things Gaming, 4Things Xbox, and of course a lot more Outriders on the way. Then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon? And if you enjoy this and if it helps you, why not hit that thumbs up like button as well, because this one has been an absolute pain to do. Since the emergency stance has now been, I'm going to say fixed, I want to say nerfed because I loved how it was, but I'm going to say fixed. Now I tried to make a budget build, and what I thought would be quite simple, I basically fell over and died 100 million times. This has taken me in total about 7 or 8 hours to get everything how I wanted it. It is completely different to how I started off. I tried to make things so that I could clear content really fast. You're just not viable to stand up. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to chuck on a little bit of footage of my Archways of Enoch CT15 build clear. Now, I'm not going to take too much of your time, I'm just going to show you what this is capable of, and remember, I haven't boosted it fully. There's one mod slot that really needs to change. The armor pieces can be upgraded still, and I wasn't swapping to my other juggler gun just because I wanted to show you that it could be cleared with all tier 2 mods and such. So you'll definitely shave time off this. As well, I ran away for some bugs at the end because I wanted to make sure that I had the video uploaded. But you'll definitely clear time off of this, and I just want to show you how tanky and viable this build is for a budget build. So basically, I've tried to make everything as easy as possible for someone who wants to try an anomaly build. Obviously, once you start getting gear sets, once you start getting the tier 3s and such, start chucking them on. I've made sure that you've only got tier 2s so that everyone can make this build. Pyros will absolutely love this. If you're struggling, give this a try. It is a really fun build, and it worked a hell of a lot better than I possibly imagined, as I kind of tried about 5, 6, 7, 8 different types, and all of them tended to fall over. This one made it through, made it really easy, and it could tank even the toughest situations. Now, first up, I've got an LMG, And the LMG has this on it, improved vulnerability bullets. Obviously, if you've got a tier 3, chuck it on. If you've got a big damage thing like a comet, chuck it on. I'm just showing you this as viable as possible for that early game people that are just starting up expeditions. Death chains. Tier 2, shots entangle an enemy with chains, dealing 193,849 damage over 3 seconds. This, when I first started this game, was my go-to mod. I moved away from it, I found loads of others, I've never gone back to it. I made this build, that is our top damage source by an absolute mile. It really is a really nice tier 2 mod, easy to use, and it works amazingly in this build. Keep it on your gun. Next up, and we've got the juggler. Now, I never used this in the slightest because I wanted to see if I could get through the situations just using tier 2 stuff, and obviously stuff you'll be able to find. But honestly, you can use this because you can buy it from Tiago straight away as soon as you hit expeditions. So as long as it's still there, his inventory has not changed so far, so you should well be able to get it. If it is, grab it whenever you have downtime on your volcanic rounds. Make sure you switch to this and make sure you get some nice shots off. Now, it comes with scrap grenade. What you're going to want to do with that is take your shot, press reload, take another shot. It is going to do an absolute abundance of damage for you, dealing 226,157 damage in a 5 meter radius on a 1 second cooldown. So basically, you might as well say constant grenades, constant booms, constant AoE. I chucked on death chains, just again, like I said, I'm just trying to use the mods that I have that are tier 2s. That one again is still one of the best. If you had a tier 3, chuck on probably something like grand opening. That would do a ridiculous amount of damage and would see you get through this much faster. For your guns, pick whatever you want to look pretty on your character. There we go, that's where they stay. Nice and easy. Right, so now we've gone over to this side. Everything anomaly, 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 anomaly. We're going for an anomaly build, chuck on anomaly. Whatever cooldown you can get, chuck that on as well. Ideally, what you're looking for would probably be anomaly, cooldown and status. Like I said, this is not a perfect build, it's what I could chuck on, but it has worked absolutely much better than I thought. Again, I haven't even boosted all the armor, so you will be able to boost up your anomaly, boost up your cooldown and boost up your status, and you will tear through things much better than I did. I've tried to make sure that you're survivable, that you get to the end. Damage absorber, one of my favourite nice and easy go-to mods for survivability. Increases your armour by 52,659 and resistance by 10%. Just down the bottom, and I've gone twice as hot. Whenever a skill is used, inflict extra 39,901 damage to all enemies afflicted with burn. This actually worked much better than I ever thought. The reason for it is because we're using volcanic rounds, and we're not using volcanic rounds for damage, believe it or not. We're using it to survive, we're using it to apply that burn. We get a little bit of tick health back, and obviously they're burning, so they do take a bit of damage. But also, whenever you use a skill, if something's on fire, which I found like the bugs and such, when you use your skills like your heat waves, they take that damage as well. I've been killing bugs in the air by hitting heat waves at other enemies, and it is really nice to see them drop to the floor. Just down here, and again, now this has come with tidal wave. Heat wave, the skill can be activated one more time before triggering the cooldown. You need more than one, 100%. If you can have 3, that would be perfect. With 2, that is just about enough, but I would prefer 3 myself. But there's one slot in this that we don't really need, so I'll show you what to change up in a minute. But the next one is lava shots. Volcanic rounds increases your anomaly power by 25% when the skill is active. Your actual volcanic rounds are up quite a lot because you have 150 in the mag of your light machine gun. If you haven't, change it as a Heady so that you have. You want more uptime on that. You want to make sure you've got a lot more volcanic rounds and a lot more anomaly power when I can speak properly. Next up, and we've gone down here, and this is perfect. Anomaly power, cooldown reduction and status power. This comes with debris. This is the one you can very well swap out. You could put any mod in here that would give you a bit more damage. If you wanted an extra heat wave, go for it. If you wanted something else that would give you a bit more damage, go for it. If you wanted something that would give you a bit more anomaly power, go for it. This one is definitely not the best. It was the only one I could chuck on at the time. And burnt out. Heatwave. Damaged enemies take 25% more damage seconds. Like I said, you're going to want at least 2 heat waves. If you can get 3, they'll be taking a lot more damage. It may work in your favour to try and get 3. But that is definitely needed on this build, so you can get a bit of extra damage about yourself. And when you're on a boss, launch a volcano at him, an eruption, sorry, not a volcano, launch an eruption or 2 at him, and he'll take a significant chunk of damage, even though you haven't got the highest anomaly power in the world. Next up, and just here, we've got Pompeii. Eruption. The skill can be activated one more time before triggering the cooldown. Like I said, you want that for your actual boss nukes. Any elites, any bosses that you're struggling with, any big large clusters of elites or ads or enemies or anything that you need to nuke, chuck them in it. It will absolutely tear them up, even without legendary armor sets. And bullet kindling. Deal 20% more damage against enemies afflicted by burn. Now obviously there's no real reason to tell you why this is good. You're a pyromancer, chuck on bullet kindling. Lastly, for the boots, we've got rejuvenation. Hands down, just one of my favourite mods at the moment. So good in hybrid builds, so good for a little bit of extra survivability, so good for extra anomaly. And that is receive 14,158 firepower, 7,005 anomaly power and 40,957 armour bonus for 8 seconds whenever your health is replenished. Now it's on a 10-second cooldown, so basically you've got 2 seconds kind of when you're not in it, but the rest of the time this is constantly up. Your health will regen through the roof with what we've done with our skill tree, and this is a really nice mod to have on. Lastly, we've got Untamed Power. Using skills deals 42,391 damage to enemies within a 5 meter radius around you. The damage is equal to 30% of your anomaly power. Now honestly, this scales much better with the Akari set or anything else, or just with a much higher anomaly build, but it is still an amazing thing to have in slot. And it means that when you're doing your skill moves and when you're punching things with your melees, you're clicking in your analog, you'll be doing that area effect, you'll be getting a lot of damage on everything. Make sure you chuck melees into your rotation and you won't regret it, because you'll be picking off a lot of the you'll be picking off a lot of the smaller ads without even knowing, and taking a fair chunk off of the elite's energy just from hitting those melees, making sure you get that area effect off and taking a large chunk of damage off of the elites and smashing pretty much all of the smaller enemies. Now for the skills, an absolute crazy random bunch assortment that should never work, but it does, so don't worry about it. Basically, you've got your heat waves. These are the things you need to apply to as many enemies as possible so that they're taking more damage. If you could get 3, they'll be taking 75% damage because it stacks. 1 will be 25, 250, 375. Now obviously you're going to want to make sure you get your elites and your bosses in that, but if you hit the smaller enemies as well, it's all good, and it just makes them absolutely fall over from the flame damage. Now next up, and we've got volcanic rounds. The reason you've got this on is basically to keep yourself alive. You'll be getting a bit of health regen from it, you'll be applying that burn to everyone, and like I said, you're able to use your twice as hot, which basically means whenever you use a skill, whatever's on fire, they will be taking extra damage. So you can apply this to anything. I have found that when you apply this to the bugs is really satisfying, hitting other things with your heat waves over here or with your eruptions, and them falling over and dying on the floor just because they've actually taken that twice as hot damage is really satisfying to watch. And this is actually a bit of a kind of hidden gem in this build. Next up, and we've got eruption. We've got 2 of these. Make sure you hit the bosses with them. Any kind of cutscene, any kind of big dude after that, make sure you apply this to them after you've hit them with however many heat waves, and after you've probably punched them in the face a few times. Just make sure that you chuck 2 of these on them. Same with the elites, same with the big clusters of enemies. Right, and let me show you one of the craziest, weird, just random skill trees that I've actually made, but it's worked, so yeah, it's worth doing. So we've gone down the middle and we've gone for Firestorm. Right here we're going to increase our health, then we're going to be getting a little bit of skill cooldown. As much skill cooldown as you can is absolutely amazing. Unfortunately we can't get quite as much as I wanted, but we still have got a lot. Next up, and we've gone here for more health. Just down here, more skill cooldown, and down here, enemies afflicted with burn receive 5% more damage. Now this one is up to you. For some reason I was finding that this was actually making my runs a little bit faster, but I think if I had 3 heat waves on, I would chuck it at the end here, but decide for yourself. Next up, and we've gone down here, and we've got increased weapon damage and anomaly power. Just down here, increase anomaly power by 6%. Just down here, and we've gone reduce elite damage against you by 10%. Now, if you think this is really weird and I've gone a lot out of the way to pick this up, it's because I have. Honestly, at the moment, since the emergency stance has kind of been fixed and you're getting hit by everything, there is also an armor issue at the moment where you can get knocked for 6 when you really shouldn't. I've picked this up and it's made me survive a lot more than I ever would beforehand. If they fix things and if you're not dying as much, spec out of this a little bit, go for a bit more damage. Then I'm coming all the way up here, increase your armor by 20%. That will become evident when we've done that in a little while. Just down here, increase your max health by 10%. Resistance 20%. I love having a bit of resistance in my build. This will give us 30% in total. It means that we don't fall over if we're in that big area effect from the brood, I want to say mother, brood matron, one of them two, the big elites and such that do the skill damage, and your health will be regenerated as long as you've hit things with your flame, with your heat wave. Next up, increase max health by 10%. Just up here, increase your anomaly power by 2.5%. Basically, we picked up all of them, so we should have about 12.5% extra anomaly power all the way through. Just over here, increase your skill leech. Skill leech is actually really good because it just means that you're going to be getting a lot more tick and it means you're going to stay alive. Just over here, increase your max health. More skill leech. Just up here, absolutely integral at the moment, especially for clearing content and not falling over. Activating ignite. This increases your armor by 45% for 10 seconds with the anomalous lava. Basically, if you want to make sure that you're not going to fall over, if you are really getting annoyed with dying on these later expeditions, pick this up, you won't regret it. Just over here, and we've got double skill leech when under 30% of max health. Again, anytime you can make sure you're surviving, really good. We've got to pick this up to get to the end as well. Just up here, and enemies affected by burn receive 15% more damage. Just over here, activating ignite skills increases your armor piercing by 45% and resistance piercing by 45% for 10 seconds. Now obviously you're hitting them with vulnerable from your gun anyway, plus you've got all of this kind of piercing, plus you're going to be hitting them with your eruptions and your heat waves. This makes it absolutely melt them like butter. You won't be doing quite as much damage as if you'd gone down this tree, but you are going to have survivability through the roof. And honestly, I've tried down the bottom, it doesn't work for myself at the moment. Maybe if they sort the game out and stop the fact that you can get shot by a sniper once and die 56 times. Alright, I might be exaggerating, but it feels like that at the moment. There's some crazy stuff happening where you absolutely fall over for no reason. So I've tried to make a tanky build that can still clear content. 14s and 15s, you might struggle a little bit on some of the golds for 15s like I said, but hopefully you'll be gearing up as you go anyway. And like I said, there's a few things you can do to optimize the build, and you can upgrade it a lot with attribute shards. So in all, I think this is a really nice build to have to make your way through expeditions and to hit 13s, 14s and 15s and just have a fun time without falling over as much. Right, well you guys and girls, hopefully I haven't taken up too much of your time. I'm sure I've been speaking for way too long, but this one was an absolute nightmare to put together, so hopefully it helps a few of you out. And as always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, take care, I'll see you on next day.